He said, the Holy Prophet says, تَرَكَ النَّاسَ مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. Three things he would never do. Listen carefully. If you want to follow in the footsteps of Rasulullah and having the most excellent akhlaq, sublime akhlaq, three things Rasulullah would never do, and showed how great his akhlaq was, such that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that you truly have great, outstanding, sublime akhlaq. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Number one, he would never ever scold or rebuke anyone. Never. He would never put anyone down. The hadith says that Anas ibn Malik, who was a servant of Rasulullah, he says in the hadith, خدمت النبي أو خدمت النبي 9 سنين فما قال لشيء صنعت أسأت ولا بئس ما صنعت. He says, I served Rasulullah 9 years. Never did he tell me, you know what, you did a terrible job. Never was he negative with me. Even though I'm sure sometimes Rasulullah wasn't happy with the work of Anas. Sometimes Anas made mistakes. Sometimes his work wasn't very satisfactory. But yet Rasulullah would never put him down. He would not hurt anybody's feelings. He would never scold anyone. That was the first thing he would never do. Number two, وَلَا يَطْلِبُ عَثَرَاتِهِ وَلَا عَوْرَتِهِ. He would never search for someone's weaknesses, someone's faults. You know, there are some individuals that try to find your faults. You know, what problems do you have in life? And then they use that against you. Never. When he sees someone that has a fault, he has a problem, a weakness, he would right away look over that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would neglect it. For example, you see someone with a physical disability, with a speech disability, or he doesn't act properly. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would never focus on that. Rasulullah would never use that against that person. He would never even mention it. He would completely neglect it and ignore it. And then the Imam continues, يَصْبِرُ لِلْغَرِيبِ عَلَى الْجَفْوَةِ في مسألته ومنطقه حتى أن كان أصحابه ليستجلبونه. Look at how patient Rasulullah was with people. He was so patient and tolerant that sometimes he would be patient and patient and patient, even though some people, they were rude with him, they would disrespect him, their tone was condescending, they wouldn't speak to Rasulullah in the appropriate and suitable tone and language. But yet Rasulullah would just be patient. He would listen, he would have patience and wait and forgive, such that sometimes his ashab, this is what the Imam says, had to come and prevent some people from bothering Rasulullah. They were inconsiderate. Some people, they just talk and talk and talk. They take your time. Rasulullah would just listen. The ashab would have to come and tell people this. Rasulullah, you know, he has a life. He has to go have food. He has a family and so on and so forth. But he himself would never just leave or tell somebody, you know what, time is up. Because that's how much akhlaq he had. That's how sublime his akhlaq. He would never tell anyone, you know, that's enough. وَلَا يَقْطَعُ عَلَىٰ أَحَدٍ كَلَامَهِ. He would never interrupt. This is one of the akhlaq of a mu'min. When someone is speaking to you, don't interrupt them. This is rude. Rasulullah would never interrupt unless حَتَّى يَجُوزْ فَيَقْطَعُهُ بِنَهْيٍ أَوْ قِيَامٍ. Unless the person that's speaking would exceed the limits of Islam. For example, he engages in ghiba, backbiting, or he lies, or he puts someone down, or he does something haram, then Rasulullah would tell him, please stop, or he would leave. But unless the person would break a law, unless the person would exceed one of the limits, Rasulullah was so patient. So basically, when you read this beautiful hadith, and it has a long continuation of how the akhlaq of Rasulullah was, it basically shows you that Rasulullah was the nicest person to be around. Some people, all they do is whine and complain. They're very strict, high maintenance. They want this, they want that. They're bossy, they're too sensitive. They take everything personally. They make a big deal out of the biggest issues. Rasulullah wasn't anything like that. And that's why when you see Rasulullah, you would fall in love with him because of his akhlaq. And he himself, Rasulullah says in the hadith that you can see, أمرني ربي بمداراة الناس كما أمرني بأداء الفرائض. The Prophet, when he was asked about his akhlaq, it was so extraordinary. He said, Allah ordered me to have the best akhlaq with people. In the same way that I was ordered to pray the 5 daily prayers, I was ordered by Allah to have the best akhlaq with other individuals. And thus, brothers and sisters, we have to learn from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why should I have good akhlaq? Because Rasulullah had the best akhlaq. The Imams of Ahlul Bayt had the best akhlaq. And they are our role models. And as the Quran said, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي. The Prophet says in the Quran, if you love Allah, then follow me. The best example is on Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So this is number two. We said, we were speaking about the second motive of why I should fix my akhlaq and make them better and live a life of virtue is because of the religious motive. We said that to be a mu'min, then you have to have good akhlaq. Number two, follow in the footsteps of Rasulullah. Rasulullah had the best